Now let's move to our next one. Again, keep those questions coming in. The box at the bottom of your screen is where you will apply those. This particular session is called Retirement, Transition into the Unknown. We've got a cracking panel for this. Neil Ambrose, Field Team Manager, Met Friendly, along with Nick Walters, Field Officer with Met Friendly. Dave Bamber, Retired Police Sergeant with us shortly. Rachel Roberts, Cognitive Behaviour Psychotherapist from the South Wales Police HQ. But to start us off on this, from Norfolk Police Federation, Branch Secretary Sam Hawkins. Sam.
Good afternoon, conference. This session is focusing on life after policing, a job like no other. Ordinary people doing an extraordinary job. But what happens afterwards? As someone with 33 years service in the 28-day club and shortly due to retire, I can tell you that there are a myriad of conflicting emotions, excitement and anxiety, closely followed by so many concerns about the new challenges ahead and what my future employment looks like after policing. The cost of living crisis has had an impact on decisions from a financial aspect. Whilst it seems every opportunity is being taken to erode the office of constable, it is still a vocation for many, a part of our identity. I'm looking forward to my retirement, but suspect I will miss it in equal measure. However, there is a life outside of policing. I'm excited about being free. We know the P factor of policing, so many restrictions imposed on our personal lives due to our unique status as officers. For the first time in over 3 decades, these will be gone for me. No more on-call, no more fearing rest day cancellation or disruption to plans made with loved ones and family. Whichever route out of the organisation you take, life and opportunity does not cease. We all know officers who have been dismissed, chosen to leave, been medically retired, or retired after full service, who have all gone on to be successful in their careers and lives outside of policing. Conversely, we will all know officers who have struggled with leaving the service, transitioning into the unknown. So why am I anxious? We are part of a disciplined organisation. This gives us structure and routine to our lives. It challenges us every day, physically and mentally, often running on adrenaline, making dynamic decisions in seconds. How do we step away from that? How do we fill that void? I am concerned that I've been a cop for most of my working life. Can I do anything else? These are natural thoughts to have when facing the challenges ahead, but please do not underestimate the transferable skills we gain as cops, skills and values that are sought in other professions. We will hear from a force counsellor who has heard all these conflicting emotions from officers who are approaching retirement. The second speaker is a recently retired sergeant who will tell you his experience of retiring. There is also a session from Met Friendly, who will focus on financial matters and concerns. And finally, there will be a Q&A session with all the speakers. So please engage in any questions, ask any questions you may have. If you are thinking it, I am sure there are colleagues listening to the session who are also thinking it too. Thank you.
Sam, thank you very much indeed. And just before we hear from Dave, let's look a little at the psychology of all of this. Rachel Roberts is with us, cognitive behavioural psychotherapist. Give us an overview, Rachel. You've heard a very powerful pre-retirement piece there from Sam. Just give us the overarching concerns around this area.
Yeah, I mean, very thought-provoking what she's just shared, and thank you very much. As a cognitive behaviour therapist for South Wales Police, these are words, these are the voices, these are the people behind the uniform that I speak with every day. What we say to anybody going through changes, because a new beginning is a change. It's a change in a way of being, it's a change in a way of behaviour, is to really look after yourself with that change. And actually, change can lead to chance, and we never ever look at it that way. What is the positive element to what's happening? I totally understand for some people they may be under investigation and feeling that pressure of what a new beginning may look like. There may be people medically retiring in the audience. There may be people who have or are looking at that process, or they're retiring, or even new officers that are just in with us. all this change is about what chances, what opportunities can I now have? And for somebody undergoing investigation as well, what the outcome may be may not be the outcome that they want, but actually you will get a level of closure from some of that moving into something else as well. So sometimes it's about embracing change, which can feel a really, really daunting thing to do. As our first speaker just said, you can be excited about the change. You might be thinking towards retirement. I have lots of time on my hands. I can now move forward and do lots of things that I'd like to do. But we lose the identity of the badge and everything that comes with that. So just being very mindful of yourself and those steps. Seek support. I'm one of the cognitive behaviour therapists for South Wales Police. So get in touch with someone within your organisation. You may have an in-house counselling service like we have. You may have an external counselling service. Your GP, there are lots of people that you can speak to before this change happens. So when you're in that place of change, there are chances and opportunities of what that could bring. But reach out and speak to someone. Be proactive in your well-being. Today is World Mental Health Day. It couldn't be a better day for us all to celebrate. How am I doing? Where I am in a place of change? How am I? And what way would I like that to look? Thank you.
Rachel, thank you very much indeed. Dave Bamber is also with us, recently retired officer. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, not bad at all, Ian, and yourself?
Good as gold at this end. Good to have you with us. I mean, you're recently retired. You should be on a golf course or laying in a hammock in Marbella right now, surely. What's gone wrong?
Oh, well, a few things, actually. I've started working again. So for those who don't know me, I am Dave Bamber, and I was a police officer. I've gone a little bit further down that journey than Sam is on at the moment. She'll be there pretty soon, though. And I did have a load of anticipation and trepidation about leaving the organisation. I'd had a warrant card in my pocket for 30-odd years. And to give that up was a big thing to me. As I've just heard, and as we've just heard, it's part of your identity. It's been my identity for a long time. And when we give our warrant card back in, that's it. Our licence to practice has gone. Other occupations, other professions remain the same. A plumber, when they stop working, is still a plumber, they're just not working. A doctor who retires still has the title of a doctor. A police officer, when they go, we're no longer a police officer. So part of that identity that we've held on to, that we've clung on to at times, goes. And that's a difficult thing to let go of. But once it's gone, along with the identity going, so does the burden of the badge. The burden of the badge and the worry of the warrant card is a massive weight off the shoulders. It's got to be said. It's got to be said. Now, I've taken a few notes when I was listening this morning, and I heard a few things. I heard Callum, when you asked him, Ian, say that he wouldn't join the police again.
Yeah.
I've heard Steve Hartshorn say that previously. Now, I know both of those two individuals, and they are cops through and through. Now, would I join the police again? I probably would if I was younger, because I wouldn't know anything different. And actually, we all have our time, and I decided my time was over. I'd looked back on my career and thought, this isn't the job that I joined. Well, it isn't the job that I joined. Things have changed. And actually, some things have changed for the better. Not all of them, by the way, but some things have changed for the better. So I realised it was no longer my time to be a police officer. But the main thing for me was not to go bitter and grumpy. Well, no more bitter and grumpy than I'd ever been throughout the rest of my service. But to actually go looking back on, not the police, but looking back on policing. It is two different things. Now, I've also heard today that people are leaving because of the dysfunction in policing. I actually think that's dysfunction in the police, and that policing is really rewarding. Well, it is. And that's what I've tried to reflect on, my role within policing, not necessarily within the police. Quite interestingly, the organisation itself was quite handy on my transition. They didn't do it on purpose, they did it accidentally. And it's really nice to hear that we've got counsellors that talk people through this process. Because when you go, you don't get a 12-gun salute. There's no guard of honour as you're handing your warrant card back in, saluting you as you walk out of the door of the nick for the last time. That doesn't happen. Me and my colleagues received something through the post. The postman delivered our certificate of service with a laser printed signature on the bottom of it. No contact from the organisation, from friends maybe, from colleagues maybe, but actually someone that represented the organisation, that really wasn't there. And so it made me realise I probably was no more than a number or a hand in a bucket of water. Yeah, when the hand's in the bucket of water, you notice it, it's there, it's something. But as soon as you take it out, the gap's really quickly filled. There may be one or two ripples, but within a matter of moments, no one would know it was there. So actually, retirement, it's great. It's better than I thought it would be. But you know something? I quite like work. I quite like policing. So that's why I've tried to stay involved.
Listen, Dave, thank you very much indeed for that. Do stay with us as well. We are going to have Q&A as well in this section too. So any questions pertaining to this, send them through now and we'll get to as many as we possibly can. We're delighted that our friends from Met Friendly are with us, which is fabulous, for their own presentation on this. And of course, I'd urge you to check out their website too, which I know many serving officers watching this would like to, so check the details, which you'll be able to find very easily. But Nick Walter, Field Officer with Met Friendly, with us, and Neil Ambrose, Field Team Manager with Met Friendly as well. Gents, over to you guys.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present here. As I said, my name is Neil Ambrose. I'm the Field Team Manager here at Met Friendly. Got over 18 years experience in the financial services market. Just a quick recap of Met Friendly. It was started in 1893 here in London to support the families of fallen officers. We provide financial products to support financial security. Some of the products that we offer are savings, investments, and protection products. Mutual friendly means that there's no joining fees, no stakeholders, and there's no hard sell here from us. So what can we do for you? Sorry, excuse me. We work closely with the Federation regarding pensions at both the national as well as at the local level, and we help members make informed financial decisions. How do we do that? We understand the wider police family. Finance, as well as our research, was referenced in the latest PRRB report, which is going to be live again soon. So we do encourage your members to complete it. We offer these dedicated online webinars for enhanced returners, retirement, new recruits. All of these details are available on our website. You can follow the links to that. We don't just offer products to the police family. We like to give back where we can. We do sponsor various events such as passing out parades, long service awards. We also sponsor the Retired Police Dogs Trust, and we do various events such as support services, financial education, as well as we support other police charities. In terms of, oh, sorry, Nick, why don't you just move on to the next slide for us, please? As I said, we do offer support services, financial education, as well as we support other charities. On that point, just to recap some of the products that we offer, monthly savings products, we offer protection products, as well as lump sum investments. What I'd like to do at this point is I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Nick, who is one of our pensions leads, and he can take you through some of the options.
Thank you once again. Thank you for letting me speak on here as well. For Dave, I go back a little bit further than you. I retired 13 years ago. There is a good world out there beyond policing, so rest assured. hang on, let's just get this rid of this. I'm responsible for organising, running the retirement seminars that Met Friendly run for retiring police officers, and then following up with one-to-ones with them for those that were maybe within 12, 18 months of retirement. What I've found is that there's a lot of confusion as to what these officers are going to get when they retire. The questions I'm asked generally is, when can I retire? And how much pension will I get? And what different dates, how does that affect the figures? And there seems to be very much a dearth of information around pensions. And financial well-being, obviously, which we're interested in, starts with knowing exactly how much you're going to earn. We do an entire retirement seminar, retirement options seminar, which I would encourage all the Fed reps here to encourage their members to join. Their teams seminars, they're free to join, and they run for about 4 hours, and we cover pensions, finances, legal stuff. We've got somebody from a solicitor's firm that talks, and also somebody who talks about CVs and future careers. One thing I have found is that about 3/4 of the officers that attend these seminars for retirement are intending to work again after they retire from the police. So that's why that's in our seminars. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things where I constantly get questions. The first one is post-remedy now, as we're in the post-remedy era, is what are these options that I've got? And so we explain that, you've got option one is that your legacy scheme runs until the 31st of March 2022, and then the 2015 scheme runs from there. Option two is that it runs, and the legacy scheme runs until the 31st of March 2015, and then the 2015 scheme runs from beyond that. So there's still some confusion about that. Some people are wondering, well, what happened to taper, all this sort of thing. So that's one of the questions that I'm often asked. We also get asked about the pensions trap. Now, obviously, the pensions trap is still there. So this is for officers who get to their 30 years service, but however, they're under 55. And if they want to go at 30 years, obviously, you're entitled to your full entitlement of the 87 pension. But then you've got some options around the 2015 pension, and it's normally abated until state retirement age, but you can take half of that pension from the age of 55, and officers don't really understand the consequences of that. One of the reasons that we do the one-to-ones is to try and put some figures onto these, so that they can make some informed decisions about what they're going to do. I've noticed as well, there's a growing number of officers that started in the 2006 scheme. It's slightly different there because people who started in that scheme had an expectation that they were going to work to 55 anyway, because that was the retirement age of the scheme. There was a provision where you could get a full entitlement with 35 years. Obviously, it only ran from 2015 to 2006 to 2015. I have spoken to one officer who did qualify for 35 years because they brought a lot of pension in with them, but that's few and far between. So not so much of a shock to officers because they were expecting to work till at least 55 anyway. A little bit about wealth management as well. Again, this is just a snapshot of the options. We introduced this sort of the graphic where officers have got their income. When they retire, their income reduces because they're now on a pension, not on a salary. Most officers, though, go on to work again, and they, in a lot of cases, actually increase their income. Some only want to work part-time, to stay below the low tax threshold, but some want to maximise their earnings. And then you get maybe in their early 60s, they then want to stop work again, the second career, and that's where you get the income gap, that you might want to use some of that lump sum, and this is where the financial planning comes in, to be able to fill that gap when your income drops again, when you leave that second job, which may be before your, say, retirement age. And I can speak from experience, being in my 60s now, that when you take time off, you tend to spend. And I find that 60-year-olds now are very active. Not like they were when I joined. I mean, I look like my father. He was an old man at 60, and I don't feel like I'm an old man. I'm still out with the dogs every day and still fit. So I think there is a longevity in that pension now, and planning to fill that gap is really what officers should look at. I would again just repeat that we run options retirement seminars. We run them twice a month. There's 4 live ones which are based around the sports clubs around the Met in a year, but then we run 2 a month on Teams. Just go on the website, click on the events tab. You can book your space, and free to join, and you'll get a good explanation of your whole pension, and it will also look at your future, the transition in how you're going to manage your money when your financial situation changes. And we also look at legal aspects like wills, powers of attorney, trusts, all that sort of thing that's very important. And also some sage advice from an external speaker about writing CVs, about LinkedIn, which is an important part of the CV nowadays, and about interviews and career coaching. So I just encourage anybody on here today to encourage their members to come in and see what we do. So hopefully there's some contact on the screen there. That's me done. So thank you very much, and I think look forward to the questions on the panel.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you to Nick. Thank you to Neil from Met Friendly, of course. Let's get tucked straight in to some questions as well. We've got many that have come through. Here's the first one. What is the Police Federation doing across England and Wales to support colleagues coming up to retirement? And you're right in the zone.
Well, speak for my federation. We hold local retirement seminars along the similar lines to Met Friendly. Having heard that presentation, perhaps not as good as yours. I might have to come and give yours a look on one of the online platforms. So all of the police federations will provide their own seminars, pre-retirement. The forces do as well. Certainly locally in my force, we give officers the option to attend both, so you can go to the force one and you can link in with the federation one. So if you are coming up to retirement, please, yes, contact your local federation and ask for the details.
And does it, I mean, just to reiterate what you were saying in your piece at the beginning, Sam, is it scary? Is it trepidation? Is it excitement? Or is it all of those things?
Yes, it is all of those things. You know, as I said at the start, the cost of living crisis and the interest rates at the moment have been a big factor for me and in my decision. I have a mortgage that's coming up for renewal in 2024, and my rate when I last renewed it was much lower than I'm looking at, as a lot of people are finding. So I worked part-time for a lot of my service, so I was intending to keep working, and yes, I have kept working. I've done 33, almost 34 years. But certainly the cost of living crisis and the interest rates has speeded, my decision, because you have to look at your options, and when to retire, take your lump sum, potentially invest it or pay off your mortgage, etc., etc. So that's a big factor for me. So it's your stability of your family and your future going forward, and then absolutely there is the trepidation of what do we do? Have we got skills that are wanted out there that are transferable? And I think we get so sort of cocooned and institutionalised into the police family, that it is very hard to imagine that our skills...
Doing anything else.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and doing anything else. So, yes, I've got a lot of pride in what I've done as a police officer, and I will be sad to leave it. And as Dave said, I think when I actually hand over the warrant card, I think it's really, really going to hit me on that day. But you're right, the CV, oh my goodness. You know, I listed some help for a CV. I haven't needed a CV for, you know, over 30 years.
And it's a CV with, and I say this nicely, with one job on it, right?
Yes, yeah, well, yes, exactly. One employer, but, you know, obviously that's the beauty of policing.
Which in a way should be a good thing, right?
Yes.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, you know, so we will all, if you're retiring at, you know, after you've completed your full service, then you will have had lots of different roles. Even if you remain a complete career constable, you will have a whole range of roles that you would have done. And there are ways of writing that and selling yourself on your CV. It isn't just, I've been, you know, constable, blogs, and you know, this is it, and now I'm leaving. You know, so there are skills.
And Dave, I mean, you said you're quite enjoying it. I mean, usually I think you get to about the age of about 40, don't you? And retirement sounds amazing at 40. It's like, wow, the idea of, you know, waking up whenever you like and back to the apocryphal time on the golf course or Marbella or wherever it happens to be. But some people genuinely do struggle with that. But you've managed to fill the void, to fill those hours, Dave.
Yeah, I have. And I think it was really quite important for me coming towards the end of my service and the end of my career in the police. I'm not going to say policing, because I think I remain part of policing with some of the other roles that you can take on. And I think that's really important for people to understand. But actually, for me, it was really important to work out what I was going to do next. And that CV writing, I think, is crucial for people, because I think once a police officer, or sorry, I'm going to have to stop saying that, as an ex-police officer, your CV is the difficult part. Actually, your skills, your abilities, your knowledge, when you get to speak to people, shines through.
Of course.
And your ability to work. But getting over that first hurdle of getting that interview in the first instance, I think the CV is really, really important. So for me, it was a case of working out what I was going to do next. I don't think you can, for me, it was a case of, I'm not going to be able to turn my head off straight away. That might work for other people, but I just understood myself and thought, I need to know what happens afterwards. I need to keep myself engaged.
Yeah.
My youngest son was quite profound just before I retired, and he said to me, Dad, you do realise you're going to have to work somewhere? And I said, well, why is that, mate? He said, well, you'll definitely get on my mum's nerves, you'll really get on our nerves, and more importantly, you'll get on your own nerves within a couple of weeks. So, and he was right. He was right. So I think that's it. Making that plan for what you're going to do mentally and physically when you move forward. And if that's work, that's great. If it isn't, but just know where it's going to be.
Well, I was going to say, Rachel, on that point, I bumped into a friend I hadn't seen for some years who happened to be a police officer. He was medically retired quite early, and I said, that must be amazing. And he said, no, it's not amazing. And for him, it was perhaps because it happened slightly too early. He was in his late 40s, I think. And his issue was probably the common one. It was the amount of, you know, we spend all our lives and we haven't got enough time. And here was this man with too much time, didn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah, so there's that proactive approach, isn't it? And planning, you know, Dave has already alluded to that as well. Planning for what retirement will look like, change will look like, a new beginning will look like. Being proactive with that, you know, when we're part of the retirement seminars for South Wales Police, I know the Federation encourage people to come on to these 2 years before they're going to retire, not 2 days, so that they start to make those little plans. You know, we're putting little stepping stones in place of how are you going to feel, because some people are just reaching for that date without thinking about the impact on their emotional well-being as well. You know, as a police officer in an organisation, you will have been saturated by other people's difficult things that have gone on in their lives, and then you reach retirement and stop. So sometimes some of this can come creeping back in and affect your well-being, especially when you've got time on your hands. So the message is to come forward early, be proactive, you know, in heading to that next change, whatever that'll look like, whether it's retirement, a new beginning like that. You know, be proactive in coming forward sooner rather than later. Just talk to someone, you know, make that first bit of contact. We are here to build rapport with people, to help them, to normalise the daunting prospect this can bring.
Let's do some more questions. This one from John Paul, who says, how long do you have to bring a pension over from one civil service job, I assume, to another? Neil, can you shine some light on that?
I think that would actually be Nick's area of specialisation there, if you don't mind.
Not a problem at all. Nick? Oh, are you muted, Nick? You might well have muted yourself momentarily.
No problem, right. Sorry, it's nice to get the really difficult one. So, generally...
I mean, in broad terms, maybe, because I'm sure it's a fairly detailed...
You can bring a pension over at any time, and normally you bring it over in the pension that you are contributing to at the time you ask for it to be transferred in. So, you would have missed the window for 87 pension in normal circumstances, but as part of the remedy, there is a limited ability to go back and transfer that from and then get that transferred pension into the 87 scheme. But it's a very complicated area, and I have to confess that I am not, what's the expression, I know enough about it to know that I don't know enough about it. So I think, I wouldn't try to advise people on that, but I know there is a limited window and a certain set of circumstances where you might be able to bring a transferred pension in and bring it in on your legacy pension scheme, whether that be the 87 or the 2006 scheme. But sorry, I can't answer that as a...
No, that's fine.
Black and white one, but,
you gave it a darn good go, though. I was rather impressed by that.
I think just to add to what Nick has said, I think it's probably best to speak to the pension administrator of the pension scheme that you're joining. They will be able to give guidance on that.
Perfect. Here's another question. As the government and a number of chief officers seem to now view policing as a short-term job rather than a long-term vocation, do you think forces will further cut back on anything offered for those nearing police retirement age? I mean, everything in public life has had the scissors taken to it over the years, and that includes pensions. A police pension today looks nothing like one did in 1960, 1970, whatever. Do you sense, Sam, we'll see more of that? Because there are people, I mean, some people still do 30, 40 years, whatever, but there are many who are in there for a shorter period now, it seems.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we are seeing that. A lot of new officers or young in-service officers that I talk to now don't see it as, I did, as a full a career or a job for a big, long section of your life. Because of those issues. I mean, the police pension is still a good pension, but it's not as it was, quite as you said. And a lot of people joining now aren't intending to, remain in the service for a long time. And it's not. I mean, I joined in 1990, so the police pension has changed several times already. Of course, the government now, with the remedy and things, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, of course, that, as in time, the government look for another to erode our, terms and conditions with pension further. We just don't know. But yes, when you look historically at how many times the pension has changed already, public sector police pensions, then that's always something. But I don't think long term the government really want us to be career police officers anymore as sort of long term. So a
change in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Dave, you joined in what, 1937 or something, wasn't it? It was way back in the day. It's the spectrum of a pension. It looks different today than it did when you joined. Put it that way. I think Dave is muted. Are you on mute now, Dave?
No.
There we are. Thank you.
Maybe it's a good thing I was on mute. One of the things that does tend to happen when people retire, and it's not happened to me, so thanks for them comments here, is people say, oh, they look younger already. yeah, that's not been the case with me. I'm hoping it might happen at some stage.
Do you feel younger though?
Do I feel younger? Yes, actually I do. I think that immediate kind of stress and relief and release, as I said before, it's that burden of the badge and the worry of the warrant card. It's that internal policing thing that kind of drags you down a bit. And once that's gone, you don't realise how heavy that is until you're no longer carrying it.
Yeah.
And actually, when you're no longer carrying it, it does make you feel different. It does make you feel different massively. And I think it's really quite important, this thing about people leaving the job sooner. Again, I'll refer back to something that Steve Hartshorn said earlier in the day. Policing is a vocation, it's a calling. And that's the way I viewed it. It was something I was going to do until I finished. And I think people still join with that being their intentions a lot of the time. But a 40-year career, I knew my time was up. And with them phrases up, it wasn't like it when I joined. Well, people are going to have to stay for longer with that thought in their mind. And I think that might make it really, really difficult for them. Really difficult. But maybe they'll be keener to transition out the organisation rather than the likes of Sam and myself, who are reluctant to do so. There's another reason potentially to go in the future for younger in-service officers who can definitely, and without a shadow of a doubt, have a second career, have a third career even, that is equally as fulfilling. And if they want to stay in something to do with policing, they can. There's loads of options out there.
Rachel, I thought that the point that Dave made a little earlier was a rather powerful one, that policing is one of very few professions that when you leave, you leave. I mean, when I stop working, I can carry on doing this if I fancy it. If you're, the example Dave gave, if you're a plumber, you could do a couple of days a week. You know, you can't do that as a cop, right? You can't just suddenly say, oh, it's a Wednesday, I think I'll just find a police car to have a little mooch around in and nick some people. Yeah. I mean, that is not an option anymore. That's quite a big line to draw under a very important part of your life.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why it can experience, you know, feelings of that being daunting. May I be bored? What will my goals look like for the day? But I think, you know, what Dave said as well, there may be opportunity for growth after as well. And that's what we're curious of. Change doesn't always have to be daunting. It's a natural emotion to feel apprehension, anticipation to it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be daunting. You know, it could be that an officer that moves away from the organisation through any layer of reasons why they are leaving the organisation. It may well be that in time to come, when they give that change chance to settle, that they say, actually, this is the best thing for me. You asked Dave a question just now about, you know, do you feel any younger? And he said, yes, I do. Isn't that a great advert for change and moving towards something new?
And it's interesting as well, another point that Dave made was about, you know, it can be expensive as well, retiring, because it all sounds good. I can go to the theatre whenever, or I can go on holiday, whatever. Well, to a degree you could. Somebody I used to work with was given a kind of huge round-the-world plane flight ticket when he retired. So he could fly anywhere he wanted. But he couldn't stay anywhere he wanted. He had to pay for the stay. So he found himself having the most expensive retirement gift he'd ever been given, which was a lovely gesture from his bosses. But there is definitely that, you know, the thing about budgeting. And I guess from a Met-friendly perspective, if I can just put that point to you, Neil, I mean, it is, I know it's like stating the obvious, but having your finances in order is pretty darn crucial, because it's not, you know, it might be nice to have, you know, the fruits of your labour on a monthly basis. There it is, it drops into your bank account, but you've got to do it properly.
That's exactly right. And what we're finding with officers retiring younger, they're using their lump sum for things like paying off mortgages, for things like that, and not necessarily thinking for the future. The way I like to say it is when they're planning to retire, when they grow up and retire again, because we're finding officers or retired officers will be anywhere from 49 to 60, getting second careers. That is where we really need to look after the lump sum. We really need to look after making future investments for themselves, because we're living longer. Modern medicine is keeping us around longer. We're fitter, we're healthier, and we're outliving our earnings, if you will.
Yeah.
The police pension, it does grow with inflation, does keep up with things, but as we get older, our needs increase. We need to look for medical care, etc., and that's where we need to look after the investment side as well.
Question here comes in. There's been talk of having second or third careers after policing. If you don't have formal qualifications apart from those completed 30-odd years ago, what kind of jobs are actually open to police officers nearing retirement? Well, I suppose you could work at Met Friendly, Nick. I guess there is that, right?
Well, there is always that. I would say, though, that police officers undersell themselves.
Good point.
Police officers, PCs, even if they've got no extra qualifications, they can speak to people. They can assess people by looking at them and respond appropriately. They can do written reports. They're reliable. They're honest. They turn up on time. They'll moan about it, but they'll turn up on time. And you'd think that everybody had those skills. Actually, there's a dearth of those skills in the general workplace. They're not there. And I think all those officers that have left and gone into private industry or private work have blazed a trail for people retiring now. Employers have realised how good ex-police officers are in doing these jobs. And the skills that you get, you pick up. I think, Rachel, you said it, and as well, they're so unusual in the population that you actually stand out. And provided you get a well-written CV and more importantly nowadays a LinkedIn profile to go with it. LinkedIn is now the recruiting platform of choice. So you need a CV and you need a LinkedIn profile that matches your CV. That's the way forward to, once you get in the seat, it's the interview, it's up to you.
It's a good,
police officers are pretty good at that.
I was going to say, Sam, it's a really good point. We were saying 10 minutes ago that, if you wrote on a CV at face value, you've had one job. But if you were then told to write all your skill sets with it, you would be there all day as an officer of 30-odd years.
Exactly.
And as we just heard there from Nick, it's very unusual. It's an unusual skill set, but man, it's very useful as a skill set. There's a lot there.
Yeah, honestly, it's completely opened my eyes because much the same as the question came in there. I left school, didn't do A-levels, went and worked for an insurance company for a few years and then sort of joined policing at age 20. So that's pretty much, all I've known. And apart from showing my age, my O-levels, that is all I had, and I've had some sort of skills and qualifications, and yes, I've been promoted to inspector, but it's all in that policing environment. But when you actually sit down and look and you structure your CV, as you said, all those skills that you have, and my eyes have really been open. So having, as you said, I did exactly, as you said, I did the CV first. And that's quite difficult as well, to sort of write about yourself and, big yourself up, in effect. And you do all that, but then you put it out there. And I had an interview with some, an external employer, and so nervous, absolutely nervous. And we did the interview on Teams, and it just flowed really naturally. The questions, and at the end, the lady said to me, basically, well, when can you start? The skills you have as a police officer and the things that you've dealt with, really set you apart. We're really interested, employing you because you've been a police officer and because of the skills. So it completely opened my eyes. And as Dave said, there really is, we think, because that was what I was worrying about. What's going to happen? What am I going to do? I still need to have a job. What's my job going to be? What can I do? But honestly, once you actually start looking out there, get your CV done and, think about all the things you've done. And absolutely, those skills really are transferable and valuable externally. It's been a real eye-opener for me.
On that point, Rachel, I guess, you know, you have to, because obviously confidence is a big thing about retirement, isn't it? People say, well, you know, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to offer, but I guess the role of a police officer is kind of an umbrella title almost, isn't it? Because the skill sets that flow from it are so multifarious and valuable to so many companies. I mean, they're usually the very things that, if you ask a boss of a company, what do you look for in an employee? You know, there they are. They're right there in front of you in someone who's served in the police force for many years.
Yeah, for sure. When you think of collaboration as a team, camaraderie, safeguarding, working on initiative, you know, they may get a call to go to something as a PC, they go off to that call, and when they get there, it is a totally different scene. Other things may have happened, you know, in those seconds of them transferring across to that incident. Working with major incidents, you know, the complexities and the skills that they need to be an officer today are most definitely transferable in so many places, and I think Dave has alluded to that too today. You know, it's really, really important that they showcase what they know, if this has been their only career, what a career it's been, and what skills they can take forward, working on initiative, team building, camaraderie, you know, go into really difficult, delicate situations where the people in the public are having something really awful going on for them, and they're holding that community or those people in that public incident, they're holding them, you know, in their place of real depths of emotion, and they're holding them, guiding them, supporting them. You know, what skill sets our officers have got, for sure. And
that's a boost to, well, you'd hope it's a boost to one's confidence. It's not a bad exercise, right? If you are thinking, what have I got to offer? You know, I've done all these years in one job, I'm losing the structure, the glue of my life is going, you know, what can I do? Just to even write a very quick list of those skills, I would imagine is psychologically quite a helpful boost.
Absolutely. You know, it's like a little personal reflection, isn't it? What makes me me, the person beyond the uniform? What skills have I got? I've had the training, and then I've walked the walk many times, many experiences. You know, they've got valuable skill sets there, and it is about recognizing that. That will boost your confidence, looking at, okay, so in this job, what were the layers of the skills I needed there? When I transferred to this part of my role within the police service, what were the skills I learned there? You know, there will be skills that can be taken to another career, absolutely, and be a driver in that change rather than a passenger waiting for something to fall in our lap. Like we said earlier, be proactive with LinkedIn, getting on there, getting familiar, you know, with what that looks like. When we're taking new steps in change, it's about taking those steps slowly, progressively, and having patience with yourselves. You know, in that moment where you get that wave of, I got an interview this afternoon, I'm never going to get this. That's a natural thought to have. But actually, you will go in there with that fight, flight, freeze, survival mechanism that you've had all the way through your officer's career as well. So you will go in there with that survival toolkit, you know, and just be the confident person that you are, and the person that you know, you have those skills. Just show them, isn't it? Which is what we've heard earlier from the interviews for our inspector here today.
Listen, thank you to all of our panel. We do hit the clock on this one, but Rachel Roberts, Cognitive Behaviour Psychotherapist, South Wales Police HQ, joining us. Thank you also to Nick Walter and Neil Ambrose from Met Friendly. And again, a lot of what we discussed you can check out on their website, very easy to find. If you haven't got the links already in front of you, then do that. Dave Bamber, we'll let you get back to Marbella now, Dave, to that, the awaiting hammock we referred to.
Thanks, Ian. I'll go and take it easy.
And Sam Hawkins from Norfolk Police Fed, thank you. And good luck with it also.
Thank you.
When does it happen? When's D-Day?
Well, I haven't actually put my notice in yet, but hopefully, yes, February time.
February time. Mm-hmm. So nice Christmas, notice goes in, and then new career.
That's the plan.
You can always go and see Dave, of course, on the Costa del Sol if you fancy. Good luck, Sam. Thank you. Thank you to everybody for great questions as well. Superb talking point.